What's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to Season 2 of the Mindshare Podcast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at mindshare101.com and on all the major podcast platforms. This week's episode is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems. This is episode 86. It's amazing how we can remember some of the smallest details from so many years ago. I mean, for example, I can remember sitting on my parents' bed watching the Leafs play the St. Louis Blues while Brett Hull was still playing hockey. Now, this guy had one of the most badass slap shots there was in the game. But I mean, that was years ago. And I remember the game was being played at the Gondola, which was the nickname for the infamous Maple Leaf Gardens. What an iconic building that was. And in fact, it'll always be part of NHL history, not just as one of the original 6 rinks, but it's also that building that you see on the Conn Smythe Trophy, which is awarded to the NHL's most valuable player of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Anyways, I can still remember all the way back then, the old school games, how excited I was to watch the Leafs game and how excited I would get every October as the new season was about to start. I'm a Leafs fan through and through. I mean, I bleed blue and white. I love watching my team. Not only a fan, though, I've been playing sports my entire life, as long as I can remember. I mean, both hockey and baseball. And as soon as I was good enough to compete at a higher level, I moved into playing at a rep level in both sports. Now, just for the record here, they offered me a spot in the NHL, but I turned it down. Yeah, right. That would be a dream come true, but the truth is, although I can still play the game, I was never good enough to be at the NHL level. I mean, not even close. Baseball, on the other hand, although they didn't offer me a spot in the MLB either, I did have more potential to go further because of my throwing arm specifically. But that said, there was no, is no, and will be no professional sports on my resume. But as a fan and a guy who loves my sports, my love of the game will never die. I play ice hockey once a week, every week during the winter, and I own a rollerblade league where we play every week during the summer. Unfortunately, I stopped playing organized baseball years ago. But then 9 years ago, the best thing in my life, my entire life, happened to me. It was March 11th. Jen and I had her OB appointment, and we went to the appointment. The doc said, "Go home, pack a bag, grab some clothes, go eat something, get back here in a couple of hours, check yourself in. You are having a baby." And it's what? I mean, obviously we knew we were having a baby. She was 9 months pregnant and looking like she was about to pop, but here we go. Now fast forward a few hours, and on March 12th, 2011, at approximately 6 o'clock in the morning, my son was born. Wow. Just to say those words, I get shivers running through me again. I get this sense of excitement and this sense of overwhelming joy to even think about it. How, to think about that 9 years later. My son Joshua greeted us that day. And to think, here I am, this guy who loves sports. We just had a boy. I get a little buddy to play with, to teach hockey to teach baseball to teach how to ride a bike and everything else in life. I have my son. And I still get up every day of my life right now, and when I see him, I still can't believe I have a son. Now, with all this talk about my excitement for my little man, a couple years later, my beautiful, precious little girl was born. I was blessed. To think how amazing it is to have a little boy. As this little girl of mine keeps getting bigger and bigger, I'm learning that having a daughter is just the most special feeling in the entire world. The connection I have with her is unlike anything else. And I feel for the boys who will be in her life, as they're going to have to deal with me at all times. But let's go back to the sports part of this thing, though, okay? Let's go back there. My world revolves around sports. Not only my own, but Joshua's as well. He has built himself into a strong athlete. He's very involved in hockey and baseball. And he's landing us at baseball diamonds and hockey rinks 5 to 6 days a week at minimum. Sometimes running from hockey just to make it on time to baseball. So many people complain about time management. how they never have enough time. They can never get it all done. And I get asked all the time from people about how I keep up. Quite frankly, although I'd like to say sometimes I have no idea, the reality is I am so diligent with my schedule that it actually causes me anxiety when I'm off by a few minutes. And I absolutely hate to be late. Now, they say hate is a bad word and we shouldn't hate anything, but I hate rushing and I hate being late. There, I said it. I mean, think about it. When you're late, it causes you to stress out. If there's someone else involved in whatever it is you're late for, it can stress them out. It doesn't allow for enough time to get whatever you had planned done. It shows a lack of respect for other people. It's not professional. You look disorganized. And in a people business, when it's all about people, perception from others is real. And being late for something that just doesn't give a good impression. See, managing time is crucial to success. And yes, there's a way to get more done in a day. There's a way to accomplish what you want, but no one but you can actually make it happen. And I get this all the time with my clients who I coach and I consult for. Like, most people always have a challenge with time. Always I know, I'm just too busy and I've been meaning to do that but I need more help, and it's all just excuses. I mean, look, I was there at a point in my life too, overwhelmed, stressed out, stressed about what I was doing and stressed about, what I wasn't getting done in a day, but then it changed. And I started to plan everything I'm doing, and I'm talking everything in a day. Not that the day doesn't go sideways or things don't come up, but I knew, and I know what I need to get done. I track it all so I can look back on my day to see what I actually achieved. See, if you measure it, you can beat it. This is like any world record. The runner looking to break a world record for the 100-meter dash. They need to know what the original record was in order to beat it. Or the fastest skater during the NHL skills competition. They need to know the previous time. Or the home run derby in the MLB. Each batter needs to know what the other did so they know what they need to do to win. And there is the overall main point about time management. If you don't track what you do, if you're unorganized and late for everything, how can you ever win more? See, working with me, I can tell you, I hold you accountable to the process. I want to pull more out of you, and that's why I am your mindshare coach. There's no other no one else like that. It's just me. I'm going to be right here with you during the good and the bad. I'm going to remind you what you are doing well. I encourage you to do even better. And I'm here to help correct you and guide you when you're feeling off or lost or can't figure it out or just need someone to talk to or talk it out with. Let's go back to sports again here and why I got into this tangent about time management. Not only am I a real estate coach, helping realtors to work easier, spend less, and make more, I am also a hockey coach and a baseball coach. I mean, you want to talk about lack of time? Ha! You see, when Josh first started playing hockey, as we registered him for House League, they were on the hunt for coaches. So when asked, I said, I can skate. Sure, I'd be willing to help out on the ice as an assistant. I mean, at the time, I could play the sport, but I never coached the sport. Then we went to the coaches meeting. And when I was assigned to a team with 3 other guys, the convener told us that no one from the 4 of us had volunteered as a head coach on our team, so we'd have to figure it out. Well, as I looked at the other guys, for some reason, they were all tying their shoelaces at the exact same moment. So lo and behold, I accepted the title of head coach. And here I was driving home from the meeting, and I called Jen. She's like, how'd the meeting go? I'm like, yeah, so you're talking to the new head coach of your son's House League hockey team. And she's like, what? You were supposed to go there as an assistant. What are you doing? You don't have time for this. And I'm like, I don't know. I just did it. So then fast forward, and here comes my big debut on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. behind the bench of a 4-year-old's hockey game. This was my calling. But on a serious note, I fell in love with the role. I mean, what an amazing feeling to be at hockey with my little boy. It takes me right back to when I was little, for those few memories we still have locked up deep in our minds. I remember some of those moments, and now here I am, doing them again, but this time with my son. And I got to tell you, as I'm saying this, I am smiling from ear to ear right now. My cheeks are hurting. But this wasn't only about my son. This was the feeling you get when you help 15 other kids, or I guess 14, Joshua being 15. You help 15 other kids develop into a love for a game that I myself am so in love with. I mean, seriously, what a feeling. And for me, it's a big deal, especially as a Canadian boy. It is a big deal that anybody from any background, from any gender, at any age, wants to continue to come back to the hockey rink. I mean, this is our sport. And sports has now started to creep in beyond just my own schedule. But, I mean, now Joshua's too, right? And as he gets older, I get more involved. And so, again, as you fast forward, and I was not only a hockey coach, but I was asked to be the convener for the division and then to coach the rep team. And, have we talked about time management yet? I mean, this just went from like literally 15 kids on one team at one point to coaching 2 teams, convening all 8. And, I mean, that was just hockey. Then you add in baseball. And as you started with ball, because of my involvement with hockey, I did have the fortitude to say no to baseball when they asked me to help out on the diamond. I mean, look, I love the game, but it was just that idea of like, I am so involved with hockey. I just want to enjoy my son and his sports for a few minutes, right, when I get there. And it was so nice. I mean, you guys know, I love my Harley. So I'd ride the bike from the office to the diamond, and I would meet Jen and I'd be with Leah, and, we'd sit there, we'd pull out the lawn chairs and just hang back and watch the kids on the diamond. And this was totally unlike hockey, where I'd be on the bench or on the ice, like away from Jen and Leah, and not only focused on Josh, but at baseball, I could kick back on that chair, enjoy the weather, and again, just watch my son play the game while I had a big smile on my face. I mean, the nice hot weather, the summer air, the lights on the diamond. I mean, just picture it. Just perfect. Yeah, well, that didn't last long. Josh started to outgrow the kids on his team. And I mean by skill, not by size. He really took the game to another level in his world. So we decided, like, hey, you know what? Let's move him up here to play with the kids who were 1 year older than him. Then that lasted a season until we moved him up 2 years. Now remember, at that young age, they play a lot of t-ball, and many of the kids can't really, not everybody can catch and throw. So there's a noticeable difference in the kids who can and who can't. And it also obviously changes how much fun everybody can be having during a game. And so Joshua, who, can hit a ball, throw a ball, catch a ball, and yes, he was young at the time, but, we play a lot in the yard together. He was not having as much fun because it was just too easy. So again, we moved him up, and now he's playing with kids 2 years older than him. And now it's like, look at him and go, yeah, kid, you thought it was easy? But again, that changed pretty quickly. Because as he's playing up there, he gets a call from the rep coach. So now again, Josh was a 2011 boy. He gets a call from the coach who's coaching the 2010 team, right? So the boys that are a year older than him, even though he's playing with boys 2 years older than him right now, right? The coach calls and asks me if I could bring him out to try him out for the rep team. And here I am, all excited and giddy as a dad. I didn't show it, but I was jumping up and down inside, right? So he then says to me, and he's, I want him to come out. I want him to try out. I think he's got good potential. I've been watching him. I know he's playing with boys a little bit older, but, and these guys are a year older, but I see what potential he's got and he can handle himself, right? And so here I go, but he then says to me, I have to tell you, there's a new head coach for the 2011s, and this is Joshua's age. And he goes, and it's the first year that his age group is actually eligible for rep baseball. And so the coach of the 2011 group actually has first right of refusal. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I want to invite Joshua out to my tryouts, and I think, he's got a good chance of making my team. But because the guy that has that age group is also, is doing a team, because Josh is 2011, he's got to go try out 2011 first. So I'm thinking, okay, cool. And I was really appreciative of the call, right? So what I did was I got the coach's number, the one for the 2011 team, and I called him up to introduce myself. I told him, my name is David Greenspan. My son Joshua, he's playing baseball with Richmond Hill, and we heard that, you're going to be coaching the rep team. And so he thanks me for the call and says, well, I've already had 2 tryouts and I've made some cuts. And in fact, the final tryout's coming up this weekend. Like, where have you been? And I'm thinking like, oh man, like, did I miss the chance? But I also asked, I'm like, would you like to have a look at him? And he replies and he's like, I don't even know him. Like, where's he been? Has he been playing baseball? Why haven't I seen Joshua before? So I said to him, I says, yeah, Josh has been playing underage. He's been playing 2 years up. He's like, well, that makes sense. Yes, please bring him out. I'd like to have a look. So I'm thinking beauties, right? This guy's already had 2 tryouts. He's cut some people, but, he's going to make this exception to have Joshua come out and try out. And, in my head, I'm thinking it's a good call by him, but he doesn't know that yet. So anyways, he was gracious enough, kind enough, and he says, like, come on out. So we go to the Diamond that Saturday morning, and about halfway through the tryout, the coach comes up and says, I've got a spot for him. And like, again, what a proud dad moment. My son misses the first 2 tryouts, shows up to the 3rd, and gets a spot on the team almost immediately. Yeah, Joshua, way to go, buddy. But we didn't tell him that day, right? Because I said to the coach, I said, I'm not going to be the one to tell him. You've got to tell him. So we let the coach call him later on the next night and do the official, like, welcome to the team. Well, by that time, later on that day after tryout, I'd actually flown out to the East Coast to do a keynote conference the next morning. So unfortunately, when he called the next evening, I was still out of town, and I missed the look on his face when he got the official call. But I definitely heard his excitement when he called me right after. Like, what a moment. My son had just made the rep team for baseball, just like his old man did so many years ago. And between you and I, don't tell anybody. I was a pretty good ball player. But this kid, man, this kid is so much better than me. I mean, I am really, really excited for what's ahead for him. And again, we don't tell him this stuff. It's always about, like, positive encouragement. It's never about building up the ego where he feels like his, bleep don't stink. You know what I mean, right? We just want to keep it positive, let him know he's good and encourage him, but never want him to think like he's the man. He doesn't have to do any practice because then, just like any of us, we all get complacent. And you can't get complacent, right? When you are at the top of your game, it is not the moment to go, I don't have to practice anymore. I don't have to do the things I was doing in the past. And I ask you all, and I will always ask this, where did you get your first deal? What did you do to get that first deal? What were you doing in your world? How hard were you working? How dedicated were you to the process that maybe you are not doing right now? What did you do to get it? Never get complacent. Now, back to the baseball thing. If you caught what I said is, about the baseball coach, well, and the fact that I am a baseball coach, but here I am referring to another coach, well, you may or may not be confused, so let me just clarify. Jeffrey was the coach, was underlined. He's been in the game for 35 years. He actually is one of the people that runs the entire ball club, like for the entire community at every age group. And he has led a few teams to provincial championships. So here he was actually starting this team right from the ground to lead them to provincial championship as well, as he's done with these other ones, right? And so here I was, like, really excited at this opportunity. I thought, wow, my kid's making rep. He's got this coach that's been in the game 35 years. This guy knows everything about baseball there is. And I mean, just, amazing opportunity. Well, this past winter, Jeff unexpectedly made the decision to step down for personal reasons. Just things going on in his world, and totally understand. I mean, him and I have got a lot of respect for the man, and we get along incredibly well, and we still do. I rely on him as an advisor, a confidant. But here there was, like, these 4 of us assistant coaches, and, when it was time to select a new head coach, well, go figure. Everybody but me was tying their shoelaces again. So this time they were doing it with one hand while, like, unanimously pointing the finger at me to take on the role of skipper. Bench boss, the head coach of a baseball team. So what was I going to do? So I begrudgingly accepted. Now, I know that sounds like I don't like it, but in fact, like, I really, really, really do. Because I just love coaching. I love being out there. I love giving back. I just, there's something about it that just, it's that sense of, like, just amazing self-fulfillment, right? And now I've got 12 kids that I get to teach the game of baseball to. So here we are. There's no more riding to the diamond. No more sitting on the lawn chair just enjoying. Now I am knee-deep in the thick of things, totally locked into helping each player on our team grow into a better version of themselves, both in baseball and in life as people. Seeing the smiles on their faces, knowing that you're a part of the enjoyment for these little people, it is so incredible and so rewarding, as I just said. Like, just as a person, it's hard to even put it into words. But when you help people and people help you back, this is the power of reciprocity. But you can't go into it thinking, okay, well, what can I get in return? You've got to be sincerely genuine about helping. Just wanting to make others smile and help them succeed at something. In this case, through coaching, this is how I help. In fact, just before I was recording this, we had gone out to the Diamond, and I mean, my mind was everywhere. Just before going out to the Diamond, in fact, yesterday, my mind was everywhere. Like, I had so much going on. It had been a busy, long day. Again, luckily for time management, I stuck to my schedule and made it happen. But when I stopped and I went to the Diamond, we ran a fun, social distance, law-abiding practice, and I came home refreshed. I felt good. I felt a sense of relief on my day. And I said that to Jen because she knew it was just one of those days yesterday prior to baseball. And when I came home, she just looked at me and I was kind of, just happy and smiling. She's like, she just looked like you're fresh. I'm like, I needed that. I needed that so badly. I needed to get to that Diamond with those boys. And you guys got to remember, I mean, with everything that's gone on with COVID over these past, number of months, obviously none of us have been doing a lot of this stuff. Sports has been canceled. Everything's been canceled. And I mean, we just started getting back to the Diamond. What a feeling. Like, sports has become an integral, it's always been, but now because of Joshua and his schedule and his involvement and my coaching and my involvement on top of my sports, it's an integral part of my life. It really is. It always was as I was a kid, but as an adult, sports needs to be woven into the day-to-day around how we get up and make a living. And it's taken on a whole new dimension, again, because the little man is so involved in it. And like I said before, we spend 5 to 6 days a week at minimum in a hockey rink or a baseball diamond, surrounded by 14 other hockey players, their siblings and their parents, and 11 other baseball players with their siblings and their parents. And for Joshua, even for myself, that's a lot of camaraderie. That's a big group of people that we interact with and spend countless hours with on a daily basis. Then all of a sudden, COVID hits. And all of this, everything I just mentioned about the rinks and the diamonds, the friends, the fun, the scheduling, it all came to a hard stop, cold turkey, on March 11th. And admittedly, it has been really, really rough. Joshua's birthday is March 12th. So that weekend, I had Leafs tickets lined up for him. And we had this birthday party with all these friends planned and ready to go. Then the news hits. We are into a global pandemic. The NBA shuts down, the NHL follows suit, schools kick into gear, and then the domino effect just took its course, and we were now into self-isolation with no more sports. Not on TV, not in person. Nothing. I mean, at the time, our team was in the thick of the playoffs, about to go to the semis, and then on to win the championships. My men's league team, we were in the midst of defending our championship from last season. And our baseball club, which had been practicing 2 times a week indoors all winter, was just getting ready to finally get outside to the Diamond. Now, all of it just came to a hard stop. At first, the shock and surprise was it was exactly that. Like, what do you mean we can't play sports anymore? And we can't get together with our friends? Then it just became normal. No sports, not on TV, not in person, nothing. Well, that just isn't fair. And I mean, I say that facetiously. I mean, I get why, and it's just from a very selfish standpoint. I want my sports back. Now we fast forward again, and as we are hopefully coming out of all of this, it is just frustration and disappointment now. I mean, to each their own on how people are managing what has happened. And I recognize that everybody needs to have a sense of responsibility for how we go about our days and whether we do or we don't wear masks and gloves. But, aside from all that, seriously, I just want sports back. And as I really analyze all of this over these past 4 months, I learned so much about myself by not having any sports. This lack of activity has taken a toll on me, mentally, physically. And I can see the same in Josh. I speak for us. And I imagine many of you feel the same way, right? Whether you play sports for yourself, if it's golf, basketball, football, baseball, hockey, curling, dominoes, if you play the flute. Flute's not really a sport. Maybe dominoes are not either, but you know what I'm saying. But, if you're playing sports for yourself or you've got a spouse or a child involved in them, to just have it all disappear, it's a huge change in life. Hockey parents, you know what I'm talking about. Baseball parents, you know what I'm talking about. Soccer, football. Those of you that are running around, either for yourself and or for the little ones, that's what we do. It's what our weekends are made up of. We say no to extracurricular activities because of sports. No more working out the way we were. Not going to the gym working or doing sit-ups working out, but I'm talking getting together with the team, doing the warm-up routines, and then being totally active, going hard for 2 full hours almost every day. No more communicating on a pure 100% fun level with all the other teammates and parents. The routine has been broken. And the new habits have started to develop. See, Josh started playing way more video games than we've ever let him play before, but there wasn't much else to do. And plus, because they all play online, like all of his buddies from his team, his teammates, he's actually still been able to stay connected with his buddies and talk to them while playing. But he became lazier. No kid likes to practice. They just want to play all the time. And knowing that there were no games, his drive diminished. He wasn't asking me to go outside and throw a ball. He wasn't asking me to go and shoot a puck. He lost his love for a little while there. And this had an effect on me. Remember, I am very diligent with my schedule, and my kids mean more than anything to me in the world. I get up and work every day so they can have more tomorrow, period. Well, part of that meant that because of how much I love spending time with them, after work would always end is still always reserved for them. And as Josh plays sports, I expect to be pulled in several directions the minute I walk through the doors at the end of the day. But now, nothing. So what do? I started to work even more. For some, COVID was a complete slowdown, but for me, because all that time was just freed up because of no sports, I actually kicked into full overdrive. But I'm not feeling so fulfilled. I'm missing a part of me. Like many, I put on some COVID weight. Luckily, my haircut helped me feel that I lost weight because I took a few pounds of hair off of my head. But the physical activity stopped, and the work increased. The mental game started to become a challenge. There was nothing I was doing for myself. Nothing Josh was doing for himself. And I imagine most other active sports families weren't doing, much either. Anything to take the mind off the regular day-to-day, right? Now that we've started to get to the other side of this thing, the major sports leagues are planning a return to play, and rules for how we at our level can get back to the game are also starting to be presented. But we're still not back on the ice. But we are starting to get the team together for some dry land training as a group, not only for their hockey skills, but just to get these guys back together again. Get them back to being kids who run around and tear things up. For baseball, the season's been canceled, which is a massive disappointment. But as rules have begun to ease up around the use of the diamonds, we have started to get back to workouts, as I mentioned, and getting the boys just back to having some fun in the sun. It's a slow process. I would have never imagined a world without sports, had someone said that to me off the top of the year. But going through what we've just experienced, I realized how important of a role sports plays in our lives. The mental, the physical, and the emotional effects are all very real. So what do we do when our routines change? How do we deal with it? How do we manage the negative effects without allowing them to become long-term and steer us down a road we know we shouldn't be driving. How? We set goals. We stay focused. We manage our time. See, there's always something to learn from every situation. And when we're living and experiencing the situation firsthand, it is usually not easy to spot the good or the bad because in the moment, we're just living. Then, all of a sudden, things have changed so much that we are off our game. We have new habits and a new routine. No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't even know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. But we can have a plan. We can have a direction we want to go. The wind will blow, but when we set our sails properly, we will have the wind take us where we want to go. So whatever changes happen in your world over the past few months, instead of dwelling on them, embrace them. Look for the learning moment in all of it. Use it to fuel your desire to get back to where you want to be or propel you to that next version, that better version of you. It is what it is. We can't change the past, but we can learn from it. We can make our future even better. There were a lot of silver linings in all of this. And although everything I just shared with you about sports did not paint that picture here, I do want you to know that as I struggled with some of the mental stuff, as I wasn't all too happy to see that my jeans don't fit exactly the way I want them to, I am so grateful for how much time I got to spend learning new things, reading books, developing my mind. And I am so grateful for all the time I got to spend with my family, which we all know used to come few and far between in our normal day-to-day. I learned so much about myself in a world without sports, and I am using it to become better. So what did you learn? What can you take away from this experience that will make you better and that will help you make the people around you better too? You're either listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or maybe you downloaded our free Industry Syndicate podcast app. Or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. And while you're on my site, make sure to download your free copy of the 7 Ways to Communicate ebook to help you build more mindshare so that you can get more market share. Wherever you like to consume your content, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at DavidGreenspan101. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.